Today we're cutting through all the fluff and diving straight into the fishing mistakes that are absolutely destroying your success rate. These aren't the obvious blunders like forgetting your tackle box at home. These are the subtle, technical errors that separate consistently successful anglers from those who struggle to put fish in the boat. By the end of this breakdown, you'll understand exactly why your hookup rates have been suffering and what you need to change to start landing more fish. Let's start with something that's probably sitting in your tackle box right now, silently sabotaging every cast you make. Dull hooks are absolutely devastating to your fishing success, yet most anglers fish with hooks that couldn't penetrate wet tissue paper. When you're using a dull hook, you're essentially asking fish to hook themselves, which rarely happens. A sharp hook will penetrate with minimal pressure, while a dull one requires significant force that most fish won't provide during a subtle bite. Think about what happens when a fish takes your bait. They don't always slam it like a freight train. Most of the time, especially with finicky species, they'll mouth the bait gently, testing it before committing. With a dull hook, that light pressure isn't enough to drive the point home. The fish feels the resistance, spits out the bait, and swims away while you're left wondering why you keep missing strikes. Professional anglers check their hook sharpness constantly, running the point across their thumbnail. If it doesn't catch and dig in slightly, it's not sharp enough. Moving from your hooks to your line choice. Using bright braided line without a leader in clear water is like waving a neon sign at every fish in the area. Braided line offers incredible sensitivity and strength, which is why so many anglers love it. But that bright green, yellow, or white braid becomes incredibly visible to fish in clear conditions, especially when the sun penetrates the water column. Fish have evolved to be wary of anything that looks unnatural in their environment. That fluorescent braid cutting through crystal clear water screams danger to any fish with survival instincts. They'll either avoid your bait entirely or approach with extreme caution, often resulting in those frustrating light taps that never develop into solid hookups. The solution isn't to abandon braid altogether, but to add a fluorocarbon or monofilament leader that disappears underwater while maintaining the benefits of your main line. Here's another critical error that plagues anglers from sunrise to sunset. Fishing the same lure color all day regardless of changing conditions shows a fundamental misunderstanding of how fish perceive their world. Light penetration, water clarity, and depth all dramatically affect how colors appear underwater. What looked perfect at dawn might be completely invisible by midday, and what worked in shallow water could disappear entirely when you move to deeper structure. As the sun climbs higher, light conditions change dramatically. Colors that provided excellent contrast in low light may blend into the background as brightness increases. Similarly, that lure that was perfectly visible in clear water might become lost in the murky depths after an afternoon thunderstorm stirs up sediment. Successful anglers constantly adjust their color selection based on current conditions, not what worked yesterday or what looks good in the tackle box. Next, whether you're fishing saltwater flats or freshwater rivers, ignoring these water movements is like fishing blindfolded. Fish position themselves based on current flow, tidal changes, and water movement patterns. When you don't understand these dynamics, you're essentially casting into empty water while the fish are feeding somewhere completely different. In saltwater, tides control everything. During incoming tides, bait fish get pushed into shallow areas, and predators follow. But most anglers just show up and start casting without checking tide charts or understanding the timing. They'll fish slack tide when nothing's moving, then pack up just as the water starts flowing and the bite turns on. Similarly, in rivers and streams, current breaks, eddies, and flow changes concentrate both food and fish. Understanding where fish position themselves in relation to current flow transforms average fishing days into memorable ones. Here's a mistake that seems logical but actually works against you more often than you'd think. Using oversized or undersized bait that doesn't match the current forage base confuses fish and triggers their wariness instead of their feeding response. Fish develop search images based on what they're actively feeding on. When your bait doesn't match the size, shape, or behavior of the predominant food source, it stands out as something unnatural. During certain times of the year, fish might be keyed in on tiny juvenile shad, while other periods see them targeting larger mature baitfish. Throwing a 6-inch swim bait when fish are feeding on 2-inch minnows creates a mismatch that fish instantly recognize. They've evolved to be efficient feeders, focusing their energy on the most abundant and easy-to-catch prey. Your presentation needs to match not just the species they're eating, but the size class that's most prevalent at that specific time and location. The moon's influence on fish feeding behavior represents one of the most overlooked factors in angling success. Moon phases affect everything from tidal strength to fish activity levels, yet most anglers treat every day on the water exactly the same. Major and minor feeding periods, often called salunar times, correspond to moon positions and can dramatically influence when fish are most active. Finally, let's address something that affects every single cast, but gets completely ignored by most anglers. Using the wrong hook style for your specific presentation destroys your hookup ratio, regardless of how perfect everything else might be. Different hook designs serve different purposes, and matching your hook to your technique makes the difference between consistent success and constant frustration. Circle hooks excel for live bait fishing because they hook fish in the corner of the mouth as they swim away. But they're terrible for artificial lures that require active hook sets. J-hooks work great when you're actively working your presentation and can feel every bite, but they'll gut hook fish when used for soaking bait. Wide gap hooks accommodate bulky soft plastics perfectly, while thin wire hooks penetrate easier on light-biting fish, but bend out on larger specimens. The hook you choose should match your fishing method, target species, and bait presentation. Using a heavy wire hook when finesse fishing for pressured bass results in fewer bites because the hook won't penetrate on light strikes. Conversely, using a light wire hook when targeting powerful fish like pike or muskie guarantees bent hooks and lost fish. Match your hook style to your specific situation instead of using whatever happens to be tied on from your last fishing trip. There you have it, critical mistakes that are probably sabotaging your fishing success right now. If you enjoyed this video and want to learn more mistakes you might be making, then click this video here. That's it for me today. I'll catch you guys next time.